Today on Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
I just want to say, Lou, my wife thinks you're the greatest. Am I bothering him? No, that's okay. Just go ahead and talk to him. By the way, you look very familiar. Where were you on the night of August 12th, 1995?
Want to learn from those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level? Best-selling author of Master the Art of Connecting and professional speaker Lou Diamond is here to connect you to some of the most inspiring and amazing people on the planet. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another spectacular, amazing, fun, fantastic episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, we have a man in the business of making people happy. I know every listener right now is like, all right, this is what I want to hear, which is awesome. He is a dynamic radio and television personality, author, and speaker. Listen to this list of achievements, ladies and gentlemen. Twice named Billboard Magazine's National Radio Personality of the Year. He's inducted into the Texas Radio Hall of Fame, the San Antonio Radio Hall of Fame, and inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as one of the top 100 radio personalities of all time. He has entertained on some of America's greatest radio stations, both in LA and San Antonio, and his popular radio program and podcast, spoiler alert, The Sonny Melendrez Show, delivers much-needed inspiration and entertainment to a worldwide audience. It is my honor and privilege to return the favor to a guy who introduced me to the stage, but now I'm going to introduce him to my audience, Sonny Melendrez. Sonny, how are you today?
Fine, Lou. Great to be on your show. What an honor.
Well, the honor is actually, I'm just owning it because I got an opportunity, listeners, to not only see this man in action and MC and host an incredible event, learn of some of his stories and hear some of his incredible accomplishments, but I also got to hang out with him after the event, which is where everybody really connects. And some other additional information was just spectacular. We had some other great people. Let's give the shout out right away to Stephanie Scheller, who had us both at the Grow Retreat, and kudos to her for putting on a spectacular event, but also enabling us to connect. So it was great to connect with you during that time.
Everything happens for a reason.
I hear that. So I think that's probably your motto for your life. I don't want to go all the way to the womb, although after hearing some of your story, we probably could. But let's do like the quick rewind button and kind of went back into, I think listeners would love to actually hear how this became your life and career. Like there was an interesting part of the early part of your story when you found this out. Let's use that as a backdrop, and then we'll hit the fast forward button and get to some of the fun things you've done. Cool? Yeah.
So when I was, 11 years old, I had three dreams, and it came from watching television and listening to the radio. One of them, I was going to be on the radio. I was going to have my own show. I just knew it was going to happen, just a question of when. Two, I wanted to work for Walt Disney. I would watch the Mickey Mouse Club, The Wonderful World of Disney, and I thought, I've got to be a part of that fun. I was going to be a part of the Disney family. And third, and this happened when I was watching my favorite cartoon show, Yogi Bear, I decided that I was going to be the voice of cartoons. Now, little backstory, I didn't live in a house or an apartment, even a mobile home. My dad moved our family into the back of his barbershop, little 2-seat barbershop on a little strip center that still exists here in San Antonio. And it wasn't even a full address. Half was a barbershop, half was a print shop. We lived in half of the half. Our address, Lou, was 908 and a half Nolan Street.
It's amazing.
So I'm back there watching little black and white Philco TV with a coat hanger for an antenna, and I'm watching cartoons, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be the voice of cartoons. And I would start doing these little impressions, and I found out at that early age that I had this ability to mimic voices and even sounds that I heard.
I was going to ask this question. Who alerted you that you were good at this? Because like a lot of us, there's interesting things. I'm sure this initially happened to you when you first started recording yourself. And that is The sound that you think you sound like doesn't sound like initially what it is to you. We've been recorded so long for so many years. We know what we sound like when we hear it. But that initial piece, who brought it to your attention that you're like, wow, you really do sound?
Well, you just hit up on it right there. One of the things that people always say when they hear themselves recorded, they say, is that the way I sound?
Yeah.
Well, when I hear myself recorded, I sound exactly the way I sound.
Right.
And I think that's the ability to find out whether you're on track or not when you're trying to impersonate a voice. And so when I started doing these voices and I had my little recorder, I would play them back and I would be, whoa, and I was onto something. And then I'd do another voice and another voice. And one of the things that I wanted to be was on the radio, and I would listen to my favorite radio station under my pillow every night. And I was thinking to myself, I'm going to be on that station. It was the number one station in San Antonio. And so I couldn't wait to grow up. I wanted to have a radio show then and there. So what I did was I had my recorder, I had a record player, look it up and Google it. And I also had this ability to play these records and talk in between, just like they did on the radio. I'd make these little 5-minute shows, and then I'd play them for my friends on the phone. Now, Lou, we didn't exactly have a phone. My father's, he saved money every way he could. Our phone was the payphone in the barbershop.
Oh my goodness.
So my dad would give me 3 dimes every night, and I'd go into the barbershop in the dark, go up to the shoe shine stand and sit there where the payphone was on the wall, and I would dial one friend at a time and play my little productions. For all I knew, they just put the phone down and came back and say, "Oh yeah, that's great. I got to go."
So if I do this correctly, for those listening, Sonny technically invented podcasting. He just
I did.
he just recorded at one particular point and used the telephone as a way to distribute it. Okay, that's
exactly.
fair.
Way before Apple, way before all that stuff, and I had one listener at least for a couple of seconds anyway. So I believe that looking back at all the things that have happened since then, that there are 3 ingredients to making something come true, to really manifesting what it is you want to accomplish. And those 3 things are, first of all, a deep belief in yourself. You believe that you can do this. And second is the vision of where you want to be. For me, it was the Mickey Mouse Club, the cartoons, radio. And third, and this is the big one, is gratitude. Because I've learned that all throughout the way you pinch yourself. To this day, I pinch myself when I wake up knowing what I can do and knowing what I get to do, but also in who you are able to help. Yeah. And I'll get to that in a second. But the thing is, one of the great things about being a kid is you don't know what you can't do.
Right.
And so you're just dreaming of all this stuff. Now, fast forward a few years, I go to college. And by the way, my first day at the community college here in San Antonio College, which, by the way, just got named the number 1 community college in America.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Pretty amazing. And so I was going to be an artist. And so that's what I got my that was going to be my major, and I got all my classes and everything. I'm walking down the hall of this building to go to catch the bus to go home. And there's a door with a little square window. And I think to myself, where have I seen a door like that? A radio station.
Oh, at the
I
university.
looked inside, and Lou, I saw the most magnificent sight. It was a small radio station control board with a microphone. And there was somebody from maintenance walking by. I said, well, what's that all about? He says, oh, that's the radio TV department. TV department? For what? Says, well, you get a degree in radio TV. Oh my, I made a beeline for the closest payphone, used my bus money, called my dad, asked him if I could change my major. I did. And that just kind of set the stage for this incredible journey in the world of entertainment.
We can have the longest podcast episode ever for those who want to know it, but I think it's important to understand, maybe let's hit the little bit of that fast forward button and talk about when you started to make this actually your career, when you started to actually get paid to do what you do?
All right. That was when from San Antonio College, I went to El Paso to take radio TV at UTEP, the University of Texas at El Paso. And there I got my first job at the number one station, working on weekends from 5 a.m. to noon, 7 hours for a whopping $1.25 an hour. Lou, I thought I had died and gone to heaven. 6 months later, the competition calls and says, how'd you like to make $1.50 an hour full time? Oh my, that was it. So within 5 years, I got my first award for Billboard Magazine. And then the call came from the station in San Antonio to come and be their program director and on air, which I did. I was there for a year and then made it to Los Angeles.
Before we get to LA, I want to ask this question because a lot of people who are podcast listeners or podcast hosts or obviously radio personalities, what is the love of what they do? My question to you, in that time of producing radio programming, which you were doing as a kid, basically, when you were creating content, doing interviewing, playing music, was there one hat that you like to wear more often than not when you were in that role?
Well, the other part of it was, since I was a teenager, I was doing stand-up comedy. And so as a comedian in front of a live audience, I had a different perspective as far as entertaining than typical radio personalities. In fact, 90% of them are introverts. You know, they're bigger than life on the air in front of a microphone, but when they get out in the public, they just kind of freeze. They don't feel comfortable. I did. And so I think that was a big advantage. And any time that I was making people laugh, that was my biggest payoff. I mean, I just couldn't tell you. And it didn't matter who they were, strangers or whatever. That's to answer your question, that's what it was.
So making people happy, this is really cool because you've been doing what you say you do today and what you still love to do today for your whole career, which is awesome. Okay, let's give our listeners the fast forward button, and now you end up in Los Angeles, and maybe you could share what you got. I know the story of this, but he'll tell it a lot better than I will, of what happened when you got to California.
So when I got to LA, one of the people that I wanted to meet was Casey Kasem, because he had that show American Top 40 that I used to listen to when I was back in El Paso. And I thought to myself, this guy's got the greatest job in the world. He plays the top 40 songs in the world, the best music, and he tells all these stories. And people said, well, you're not going to get in touch with him. I said, no, I'm going to call him. I not only got in touch with him, turns out he listened to my show in LA and we got to be friends. And it wasn't long after that he called me one day and asked if I would sit in for him while he went on vacation. And just as I had imagined what it would be like to be behind that iconic microphone, I sat there and I was the host of American Top 40 for Casey, broadcasting to 500 stations around the world.
Which was crazy. I can only imagine what you felt like when that was all done. Like it was like,
it was surreal. Yeah. And it wasn't long after that CBS called and offered me my own syndicated show called The Spirit of Summer. But I was at the station, and I tell people in radio this, and they can't believe it, but it's true. I was at the greatest personality station ever, KMPC in Hollywood. If you can imagine this, every radio personality, on station had their own television show. Gary Owens was on Laugh-In, Wink Martindale had Tic-Tac-Toe. It was incredible. And I was doing segments on a show called Kids Are People Too.
Yeah.
So we all we're connected to television. And the incredible part of it all was that I was in my 20s. I was just this kid, but lesson learned, I had earned my right to be there.
Yeah.
And when you get to a position because you earned it, that's something no one can ever take away from you. And so there I was on that station with those, great personalities, not only learning from them, but also doing what I do and doing radio my way.
So not only, listeners, does he do radio, he also has an uncanny ability, as you heard him say earlier, to do voices. can you share your experience in going to the Hanna-Barbera studios?
I can. And first, I'm going to go back to when I was a kid. And my favorite show was Yogi and Boo Boo on the Yogi Bear Show. And Yogi had that bigger than life persona. Hey, 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 I'm Yogi Bear, smarter than the average bear.
Yogi, we're going to get in trouble with the ranger.
Don't worry about a thing, little Boo Boo. I know Lou Diamond. It's going to be all right. He's got a lot of connections. I'm smarter than the average bear. So that was my favorite cartoon shows, and I started doing those voices.
I think you do Boo Boo better than anyone I've ever heard.
Oh,
that is the best Boo Boo. Like Yogi can have little variations, and I do know, and stop me when I'm wrong here. A lot of the Hanna-Barbera characters were also very relevant to the television programs of the era,
right,
like the Honeymooners. Right. Remember, Yogi was basically Art Carney, was really the character that he was trying to imitate. True?
Exactly. Yeah. And the same thing with the Flintstones.
Right.
You know, and Fred
and Fred was Ralph.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
One day an agent heard me, because I do all these voices on the air on my show, and he said, "Have you ever thought about doing cartoon work?" I said, "Are you kidding? Since I was a kid." So I gave him a sample of my work. 2 weeks later, he calls and says, "Okay, you got your first job." And I can remember driving my car into the parking lot of the Hanna-Barbera Studios, the home of Yogi, Boo Boo, and all those other characters. And I was there not as an intern, not as a visitor. I was there to do voices on the new season of the Jetsons with Lou, the original cast.
Crazy.
And you can imagine how I felt being in that room, meeting all these people, hearing their voices, and it's Jane and George and daughter Judy. It's like, it's surreal. So inside, I'm jumping up and down, saying, "I can't believe it." But I'm a professional, so I'm very, very calm, looking at my script. Okay, I can do that. And here's the biggest part of this whole scenario was the fact that the voice of Mr. Spacely, because George Jetson worked at the Spacely Sprocket Company, was Mel Blanc, the voice of Bugs Bunny, Sylvester, Tweety, all these Warner Brothers cartoons. He was the master. He will always be the greatest of all time. And he became my mentor and taught me a lot of his voices, which was so incredible.
I want to ask this question. By the way, you can't have a better mentor. And every time I hear the story, this is now, by the way, the third time I've heard it, listeners, and it blows my mind every time that he had the opportunity to sit at the foot across the other microphone with legends who you looked up to, who now obviously the whole world knows. And if for those aren't familiar, we'll send you some links of who Mel Blanc is and whatnot. In the role of now doing voices, specifically to being a voice actor, a lot different than hosting and producing and being more or less yourself or whatever radio personality you had of being a radio programmer. This dichotomy, because this is who you are. You do the voices and you've hosted the shows. This little tennis match going on within your career, I've got two questions. One, could you believe this was happening in your life? That were like just the just pinch me moment. But also two, did you find that you were better at one than the other at the professional level?
No, because I was in my element. Oh. In other words, I was doing what I loved, and they would ask me, like one time they said Jane Jetson calls. She gets a call from a game show host, and if she can answer this question, she wins $1 million. And I was a game show host. "Hi, is this Jane Jetson?" "Yes." "Well, if you can answer this question, what flies through the atmosphere with 100,000 miles an hour?" And then she goes and it just describes this thing. And just then the dog barks and she says, Astro is right. You win."
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So the ability to, like, this is what we talk about on Thrive Loud all the time. What an anomaly, but also the three things that you mentioned at the core of what you do, the sense of gratitude, the believe in yourself, and also putting in a lot of hard work and a lot of hours into this. This is someone who's literally living your passion each and every day. And I'm just going to skip to this question because this is what I would love to know. We all have days when we're killing it like this, and people hear this career and they could look back at Sonny's, all the lauded tales of everything you've done. It's amazing. But we know that not every day is as rosy and as wonderful as it can always be. It's not always a thriving day. The listeners on Thrive Loud want to know, even though it doesn't seem possible, when Sonny has a bad day, what practice do you seek, or what individual do you seek out to get yourself back on the thriving track?
I think that because of my ilk, because of my DNA, and I credit my mother. My mother was, I call her the maternal optimist. I never heard her say a bad word of anybody. And I've always had that when I wake up and I go, oh, it's morning. Okay. It's time to do stuff. And if I didn't need to sleep, I wouldn't. It kind of gets in the way. And sometimes I forget to eat. I mean, that's how in love I am with all the things that I get to do. And it's there for everyone. I think that the attitude of optimism, the attitude of what can be, the attitude of, as I like to say, what's the best that can happen, is there for everyone. And here's what I do. And I feel like this is my mission as a speaker. I want to bring you over to this side if you're not already there. And a lot of people already are. And they've got one foot in the positive realm and the other foot in the other, especially with everything that's been going on in the world. But what I try to do is bring them over and let them breathe that air on their own. And then after you do that, there's no going back.
Yeah.
It's the greatest drug there is, because you feel that you have that ability to keep yourself up there, and the sky's the limit.
Your sense of gratitude and appreciation for life is what I feed off of you every time I talk to you, and the listeners need to know this. He is for real. This is really this individual. He is genuinely kind and is such a wonderful person to be around. He actually has an aura about him that exudes the positivity and the appreciation of life that he has. So it's just a kudos to you to represent how much you're drinking in life and embracing it every day.
You're very kind. In fact, that's the way my TEDx talk, that's the way I started out. I said, have you ever heard of anybody? Have you ever noticed that there's some people who are always happy, always in a good mood? Every time you see them, they're smiling, and you think to yourself, come on, nobody's that happy. That's what people have said about me. So I want to pull back the curtain on this positive operating system, show you how it works and how it might work for you.
I want to dive here before we get to the Fun Street part of this program, which is going to be epic on so many levels. I want to talk about the Sonny Melendrez Show and podcasting today versus, I guess, radio. And I know you have the benefit that your program actually airs in both mediums. With the explosion of podcasting over the last 6-7 years to the level that it's been at, where so many people are having a voice, a little bit different than when you first started out within the space. Things that maybe you've learned or adapted that you've added onto the way that you run your program, maybe that might be different than others might think otherwise.
Well, I like to produce the show. Mm-hmm. If someone is talking about something that they heard or something I'll go find that sound, and it could be a part of a TV show. It could be part of an appearance that they made. I had Johnny Mathis on my show, and he was talking about how he had been on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I got a clip of him on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I pre-produce it afterwards, along with jingles, music, etc. And to me, it's a production, not just two people talking. Throw it up there and let's see what happens. And I also think that brevity is really important. Yep. And I noticed that you are under an hour on your podcast, which I think is really brilliant, because people don't have a lot of time. And here's the real key, Lou. The real key is this: podcasting is just another form of radio.
Right. And
radio is the most magical medium of all. When people are listening on their iPods or on their car radio or whatever, everybody has a different picture of what it is they're listening to.
Yeah.
And that's the magic of radio.
It's true. The creativity that you get to utilize from what you listen to and to what you can visualize. A lot of the mediums, including this one, we do hybrid mixes where we'll sometimes show the video of the guest and people will have one perception, or we'll use it as a teaser, as we did when Dion Flynn came on the show, and we'll do a little bit.
I saw it, yes.
He's quite entertaining. We both got to hang out with Dion. Shout out to you, Dion. I know you're listening, and he's probably doing, why aren't you doing this voice? But when you do that, the imagination that's paired with what you listen to, it really takes the listening experience to another level. And I think that's so important. And those who do it well and expert like you do, have taken it to an art form. And I think that's what's great.
If you're not watching this, or if you're watching, close your eyes if you can see us. And
not if you're driving, listeners. Not if you're driving. Okay.
Just imagine that Lieutenant Columbo just came into the studio. Lieutenant Columbo, how are you?
Oh, I don't want to bother anybody. I don't. No, come over here and say hi to Lou. I just want to say, Lou, my wife thinks you're the greatest. Am I bothering him?
No, that's okay. Just go ahead and talk to him.
By the way, you look very familiar. Where were you on the night of August 12th, 1995? Am I bothering you? I gotta go. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm always a big fan of Columbo and his casual way of there's never been another character. Like, I actually don't think there was ever a script on that TV show. I think he just heard the idea and he had to get to a certain point.
Brilliant.
He says, how am I going to do it?
Just brilliant. And you know who did a great Columbo? He would actually do it on stage. He would do it at roasts. Casey Kasem.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He had the cigar. He had the old beat up, raincoat. He was brilliant. You may even see some things on YouTube if you Google it.
I think the funniest thing I ever heard about Casey Kasem was the first time I'd ever heard him on the radio with American Top 40. And probably around the same age, I'm watching Scooby-Doo and I'm listening to voices in the cast, and Shaggy is him. And I'm sitting there going, that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So growing up with all those voices and thinking about the fact that there's definitely a few shows that I watched on Saturday morning where
I've got another one for you.
Yeah.
And that was Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
There was a animated version of that.
Right. Yeah.
And Casey and I were both hobbits. I was Pippin and he was Merry.
Oh, wow.
So if you get a chance to find a clip of that, you'll hear our voices on there. We have the same agent.
Let's do this, Sonny. I want to do the admin part of the show, and then we're going to get to Fun Street. Share with the listeners all the places people can find you, where they could look you up, check you out, any of your work, and we'll put it in the show notes, but it gets more engagement when they hear it from you.
Okay, absolutely. They can go to sonnymelendrez.com. That's MELENDREZ.com. Online, I'm on Facebook, Instagram at Sonny Melendrez, Twitter at Sonny Melendrez. Just about any place that you can think of, you'll probably find me there. But my podcast is, of course, out there, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast, just put the Sonny Melendrez Show in there and I'll pop up.
Listeners need to know, by the way, he is an active, he gets on social media, he's involved, and as a grandpa, he's pretty impressive with the new tools, so I like it. So.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, the great thing about having grandkids or kids is that you can use that theater of the mind and do so many fun things that they're the perfect audience.
We said this when I got to meet Sonny. I always felt bad. He's got grandchildren. I said, can you imagine being the other grandfather and having to compete with Sonny?
Lou, my wife said the same thing. She says, I feel so sorry for Paul, but no, we all have our own talents.
It's awesome. All right. Permission to go down Fun Street, sir, with me. Okay. Share with the listeners, by the way, I forgot to read the notes on this, but do you have an all-time favorite movie that you like to watch, or one that always connects with you?
My favorite movie is Life is Beautiful with Roberto Benigni. Not only what a great script, what a great movie, but what a great person he is.
Yeah.
I've seen him in real life, and when he won the Academy Award, he got on top of the seats at the auditorium. Oh, my kind of guy.
You know what? I was just about to say he is your kind of guy because this is a guy who's exactly who he is all the time and is happy to be alive. And
Yeah,
and that movie
exactly.
is such a wonderful, such a difficult movie, but such a wonderful movie in the same breath, right? Playing the games that he did with his kids like it was an adventure throughout the movie is so smart. All right, we're going to do the speed round here, and I'm dying to know where this goes. I'm going to ask you something, Sonny. I want the first thing that comes to your mind. Most of these things lift you up, make you feel good, motivate you. They basically make you thrive. Ready to roll?
Ready.
Okay. Of late, right about now, is there a song that you're listening to or one that you love to like that pumps you up?
I could listen to this song if I was on a deserted island, can only listen to one song forever. I could listen to it 1,000. I'd probably listen to it about 4,000 or 5,000 times. And that is I Saw the Light by Todd Rundgren.
It's a good song. I like it.
It's unbelievable. In fact, I've got a plaque on my wall for breaking that record. In radio, whenever you play the record for the first time and then it becomes a hit later, it's, you know, you broke the record. And so I got a plaque from him for doing that.
That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah.
A favorite food that is not a dessert.
Pizza.
A favorite dessert.
Probably bread pudding.
Oh, okay. I like that answer. We haven't had bread pudding on this show. An activity you wish you did more of.
Golf.
An activity you wish you did less of.
Sleep.
Everybody, I got to tell you, we got so many people who are the opposite. I want to sleep more. I want to do this.
Right.
Sonny Melendrez, if I could snap my fingers and you can be anywhere in the world, where are you?
I'm in Paris in April, but only if I'm there with my wife.
Thrive Loud listeners, he is for real. He's the perfect husband. He's a great family man. He's an unbelievable human being. He's as kind as he is. And for those of you who haven't had fun on this episode, wait, we have one last visitor here before we leave.
Yes.
Who are these Disney people popping into the studio? What's going on here,
I
Sonny?
think Mickey, come over here. Come and say hi to Lou. Oh, yeah, Lou. It's my oh my goodness. Are we on the Lou Diamond Show? Oh, hey, Goofy, come over here side of Lou. Oh, gosh, Mickey, I'm so bashful. Oh, hi there, Mr. Diamond. Here comes Donald. He woke up on the wrong side of the pond. Hey, Donald, come and say hi to Lou. There you go.
You got to end on that note. Sonny Melendrez, truly a pleasure to have you on the program, my friend. Thank you for coming
Lou,
on.
thank you very much. And let me tell you, the reason you and I clicked was because you have that same wonderful persona. You are such a giving person. If people could see how much you give to everyone, whether they are people who are at a conference or whether they are speakers that are up there on stage with you, you're such a wonderful, truly genuine human being. And I applaud you, and I'm so happy to be friends with you.
Right back at you, Sonny. That is the highest regard and highest praise I could ever have. Thank you again for coming on the program. And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep moving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Check us out on the web at thriveloud.com and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Thrive Loud. And check us out on the Good Pods app at Thrive Loud, where you can follow, listen, and connect directly to Lou and all of the Thrive Loud episodes. Thanks for listening.